the way in time to miss a head-on collision with a black pickup truck. The squad car right behind him, however, wasn't so lucky.
Light traffic, speed still in there. Speed still in there.
Officer Robert Duran died immediately upon impact. Unaware of the crash, the first squad car continued chasing the suspect.
Just wrecked out. Slide the truck. He's going down, going to the left. In the ditch right now.
Jeremio's car swerved into the grass. Once officers arrived,
What's the
Jeremio
deal?
jumped out of the car and ran towards them, screaming about her boyfriend.
Okay, stay back. So I have the victim right now in my car. She's saying it's her boyfriend. Unknown on the name.
This nigga.
He passed 1080 with the gun, went into the bushes right here.
Minutes later,
Police car and
911 started receiving reports of the deadly crash.
Chilling.
This is the
Chilling
moment
with the fam.
officers realized what happened.
Yeah, but you know, you caught this one.
Officers rushed toward the site of the crash, and things didn't look good.
Coming through the ground right now, and your officer is complaining of chest pain.
The Las Vegas sheriff, who happened to be on the road that day, was the one to break the news.
I was coming from Las Vegas, and he was 10-7. Okay.
The other officers were hit hard. But Officer Duran wasn't the only one involved in the crash. The driver of the pickup truck was a retired Santa Fe firefighter. He survived the initial crash, but passed away before paramedics could arrive. Meanwhile, Jeremio still claimed her boyfriend was the one at fault.
I went to the driver's side, and I jumped over to the driver's side, and he got into the passenger side, and then that's when he tried to, I thought he was gonna kill me at that point, because he put the knife right into the door of the driver's side. I don't fight with people if they have like a weapon. I can't. I mean, it's scary.
That's why I dropped
It's scary. I did not want to do this. I didn't want to do none of it.
However, police found evidence that her boyfriend had been dropped off at home before the chase even began. Jeremio had lied. She was the only one in the car. Now, in
Hell
court,
yeah.
the victim's
What kind of
family
question is
described just how devastating this was.
Can
My
start
brother
right now.
died trying to save her life. Her sorry but not sorry letter. It was also very hurtful and upsetting to hear the details of her accounts when my brother gave the ultimate sacrifice.
This is the moment the jury released Jeremio's verdict.
We find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree as charged in count 1. We find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree as charged in count 2.
Jeremio completely disagreed with their decision, and she wasn't afraid to show it.
And after you've been found out, what do you say?
I
I'm not a
understand.
murderer.
But no, that's cool, man.
I'm not.
I am going to.
Whatever you feel like
I'm not a murderer.
that the
The
brother
judge
can
didn't
use.
take kindly to her interruptions.
You have taken the life of 2 outstanding members of our community, a police officer and a retired emergency responder. And you did so in the most egregious, deplorable way. With respect to count 1, first degree murder, Frank Lovato, I'm sentencing you to life imprisonment. With respect to count 2, first-degree murder, Robert Duran, I'm sentencing you to life imprisonment.
Jeremiel was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 8 years in jail. Jeremiel cursed the judge for sending her away. But what happens when it's the killer's family who makes a scene?
Well,
Like in the case of Esteban Carpio, who's charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in Providence, Rhode Island. In 2005, suspect Esteban Carpio was being interrogated for the stabbing death of an elderly woman.
Carpio had asked for water. The 2
Cash
detectives
that
that were
me
in
your
there with
number,
him put one
and I'll
on
text
to go get the water and lock the door behind him.
While one detective
Oh,
was out,
shit.
Carpio attacked the remaining officer, stole his weapon, and turned it on him.
And they tragically heard Detective Allen say, I think he's going to kill me. He's got my gun, he's going to kill me. By the time they broke it down, the officer was dying, and Carpio had jumped out the window.
Carpio had shot Officer Allen twice in the chest before jumping out of the 3rd-floor interrogation room window where he escaped.
how the fuck he survived that?
And we've lost a remarkable man today. And this city is the worst for it.
He died serving us. He died a hero.
A frantic manhunt ensued, and police found and arrested Carpio before the end of the night. The next day, Carpio appeared in court for trial.
Damn. I probably have we felt the fuck.
Harris County went out of the room for a second as everybody's eyes were transfixed on Esteban Carpio. They wanted to see, the man they perceived to be a monster who could have done this.
Carpio's family lost control at the sight of his injuries.
That's his family. Oh yeah, what you thought? What you expect gonna happen?
That
Nigga
mask
done killed
was
the
usually
cop. They
placed
gonna
on
fucking
victims
him
who
up in
were
that
bleeding
damn
or
cell.
spitting. However, Carpio's family claimed there was a different reason.
Police
She did.
brutality.
Hell yeah,
He was
they fucked his
mentally
man.
ill. He needed help. We couldn't get him. We tried and
They
tried.
ain't trying to
He
know.
didn't deserve this.
The jury found that Carpio's injuries were sustained during the 3-story fall and
Yeah.
fight against his
That's
arrest.
the cop gonna
They
say.
did not charge
That's the hell
officers
the
with
cop gonna
excessive
say.
force.
The murder of my
Nah,
husband
you
was
would
a
have said
cold
some
and
injury at your
deliberate
damn
action.
legs or some
The
arms.
jury found that Esteban
Injury like
Carpio
that,
was
nigga would
not
bust you
insane
upside
at
your
the
fucking
time of the
head.
crime.
In the end,
Yeah.
Carpio did show remorse,
Every day I face the facts of what I did and what happened.
but it didn't matter. The judge sentenced him to the maximum possible sentence,
Oh yeah.
life without parole.
Nigga seen that.
Carpio was willing to
He took
kill
a
for his
cop in the
freedom.
police station.
What happens when someone kills a cop for revenge? In the case of Rodney Hinton Jr., who's facing charges for aggravated
like- he
murder
like he
in
was looking
Cincinnati,
crazy, but I
Ohio.
whoop his ass
On
like
May
that, they might
1st,
have killed his ass.
2025, 18-year-old Ryan Hinton had a fateful encounter with police.
He's got a gun. He's got a gun on your right. On your right. He's got a gun.
According to police reports, Ryan and 3 others were suspected of car theft. When
Yeah.
confronted, Ryan fled with what officers say was a loaded firearm.
Yeah.
The following
Yeah,
actions are
kill
still
one.
under investigation. Police allege that Ryan pointed a gun in their direction, after which an officer opened fire, fatally shooting him.
I can only imagine where you felt when you see that video. Because when I finally seen it, and I watched that video from the beginning to the end, and watched my nephew drop the way he dropped, it was like my soul left my body.
After seeing the footage, Ryan's father, Rodney Hinton Jr., got behind the wheel and made a choice that would change his life forever.
Gathered to give you an update on an incident that you're aware of, I'm sure happened earlier this afternoon, approximately 1 p.m. We had an auto accident at Martin Luther King, Burnett Woods Drive, where a Hamilton County deputy was struck. He was outside his vehicle conducting traffic enforcement. He was struck by a vehicle.
Deputy Larry Henderson was directing traffic for a university graduation ceremony
Oh, damn.
when Hinton sped toward him, causing a fatal crash.
Damn.
Now, with a second tragedy on their hands, the Hinton family was devastated.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
We are very close family. This is killing us.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This was never supposed to happen to you.
Dang, I don't really count that
I'm so
genocide.
sorry, Ryan.
cop shoot their son, they gonna run the cop over and
I'm so sorry, Ryan.
In court,
That's fucking
Hinton's
retarded.
audience was filled with supporters.
That's insanity. They didn't play with insanity on that shit like that.
Sit down.
Look at everybody out there cheering. That nigga, you would have been cool if you got the nigga who killed your son, but you just get a random ass cop. That nigga probably a whole family he was doing good for. And he never did nothing wrong.
Deputies pushed the crowd out into the hallway where the commotion continued. Man in black is Hinton's brother, who has only one goal: support Hinton. He shouted to get his brother's attention, but deputies quickly intervened. Hinton's brother was escorted away to calm his nerves. Back in the courtroom, Hinton pled not guilty, but the evidence says otherwise.
Were there any evidence of skid marks?
No, there were no indications at any point that he tried to brake, stop, or otherwise avoid Deputy Henderson.
His lawyer, however,
He
doesn't
has
dispute the
acceleration
fact that
on that
Hinton caused the crash. It's the motive he's worried about.
I think the conduct in question is classic mental illness, criminal conduct. If that's a hallmark sign that somebody is not in the right frame of mind, no attention to see, no intent to hide what they did.
For now, the judge has to decide whether to let Hinton out on bond. This is his decision.
Thank you. Yeah, for the record, we asked the court to put a bond on him now, but we understand that, so not a bond during this process. All right, no bond. Thank you. Thank you. We can hold him at no bond for 72 hours, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
On his way out, Hinton made a gesture of appreciation toward his supporters. Hinton faces charges of aggravated murder. If convicted, he could face up to life in prison. Hinton's revenge killing broke his family's heart twice. That can't compare to a man who commits quadruple homicide with a smile on his face.
Surrounded Officer George Midget. Too graphic for TV, but investigators say Brady hit Midget in the head with a hammer.
Like in the case of Michael Brady, who's facing 4 counts of first-degree murder in Elizabeth City, North Carolina.
Four prison employees were killed in the October 2017 escape attempt.
For months, prison inmate Michael Brady had been hatching a deadly plan. Brady was serving a 24-year sentence for shooting at a police officer. While behind bars, he began working at the prison's sewing factory and warehouse, giving him access to deadly weapons.
The 4 inmates had been planning this escape attempt for some time. They were stashing tools and other supplies.
Desperate for freedom, Brady and 3 other accomplices hatched their plan. First, they gathered wood and cardboard into the warehouse to use as kindling for a fire. Then, they lured one officer behind boxes, where they murdered him. Next, they set fire to the warehouse as a distraction. The fire still unnoticed, the group headed outside the warehouse where they met their next target. While a guard talked with an accomplice, Brady snuck up from behind with a hammer.
Shit. That nigga was on a mission.
Correctional Institute. Body camera video captured the moments just after a deadly escape attempt in October 2017.
Correctional officers and just people just, for lack of better words, plugging holes with gauze and wounds.
By then, the warehouse was filled with blood and smoke. One of the accomplices had flooded the entire floor, making it that much more difficult for help to arrive.
I slid actually trying to even stop at the doorway. But it was so smoky and the water was murky.
Emergency services arrived at the scene to find 4 bodies, all employees of the jail.
It was like a bloodbath. Literally when I stepped in between Jeffrey and Wendy, and I slid trying to get in because the whole elevator floor was nothing but blood.
Meanwhile, the 4 attackers attempted to jump the fence with dozens of officers in tow. They were caught before escaping. During interrogation, Brady quickly admitted to being the mastermind behind this massacre. However, he had one regret. Brady cried recounting the murder of Officer Veronica Darden, who he says was always kind to him. In court, the prison nurse recounts how she found Darden's body.
First, when I went to open her airway, my fingers literally went into it. And that's when I told my nurse, I said, her nail's been cut.
The witness stand, Brady showed much less remorse.
I stabbed him like 4 to 8 times. She was supposed to go down on one head. I'm up here to tell the truth. You can ask me anything you want. I'm gonna tell the truth. How it was.
He detailed the killings as if they were simple facts.
So there's only 2 possibilities that I wanted to happen on this thing. A is I escape and get my freedom. B is I get them to kill me and I still get my freedom.
Luckily for him, Plan A failed, and so did Plan B.
I was trying to get every officer that responded to shoot.
No officer killed him that day, but that doesn't mean Brady's life was saved. This is the moment the jury released their sentence.
Jury unanimously recommended that the defendant be sentenced to death.
Looks like Brady's wish will come true after all. All 4 attackers were sentenced to death for their crimes. Curiously enough, Brady seemed dedicated to getting his victims justice in court, but this next defendant has other priorities. Like in the case of Gregory Wright, who's facing charges for armed robbery, carrying a concealed weapon, and aggravated robbery in Detroit, Michigan. Back in 1994, Wright slammed his car into a police cruiser and then shot backwards at the officers while attempting to escape. He hit one officer in the arm, but did not cause further injury. After his arrest, Wright had a strong message for the public.
All I got to say is I have no remorse for shooting that police officer. He got what he deserved, and I had opportunity to my killer.
He didn't show a shred of remorse, and neither did the judge. She set his bond at $50,000. Wright's response? Wright broke free from the officers and made an impressive jump over the partition. He was stopped by other courtroom security guards before he could get too far. It took half a dozen officers to get Wright under control. Even then, it was a struggle. The judge understandably revokes bond, condemning Wright to a cell while he waits for trial to begin. Against 7 officers, Wright was doomed from the very beginning. What happens when the defendant is black and blue even before stepping foot in court? Like in the case of Markeith Lloyd, who's charged with aggravated first-degree murder, aggravated assault, and 1 count of attempted murder in Orlando, Florida. In 2016, 41-year-old Markeith Lloyd was on the run for killing his pregnant girlfriend, Sade Dixon.
The baby on his head. The baby standing on his head.
While on the run, Lloyd crossed paths with a police officer, Deborah Clayton, while buying groceries in a Walmart. Officer Clayton didn't even notice him. She continued buying groceries and then left, headed for work, but she would never arrive. When she returned to her car, Clayton received a tip that Lloyd was inside the Walmart. She then apprehended Lloyd in the parking lot, pulled out a gun and opened fire.
Sir, I'm walking down the side, right past the officer. I heard her tell him to stop or whatever. He shot her. He shot her down, and he took off running.
Now wanted for 2 murders, Lloyd was on the run again, but police found him. Police surrounded his hideout, and Lloyd crawled forward to surrender himself. Once he surrendered, police were caught on footage kicking Lloyd in the head at least twice during the arrest.
Damn.
Lloyd was very vocal about the violence he faced.
They was stomping this shit.
He claims police brutality, but a third-party investigation later found that the police were justified in their use of force. Now in court, Lloyd's injuries were obvious, but they pale in comparison to his foul mouth.
Y'all making up shit like I just went in there and shot this girl, endangering my family.
Okay, a judge is a...
Because what if other people want to do something back? Y'all portray this shit to the news people. Like I just went in there and shot this girl when there was other guns found on the scene.
Lloyd constantly interrupts the judge, talking about nothing except his own injuries.
Sir, so,
She should know that shit. A lawyer, what's she talking from?
so here's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. I'm gonna go ahead...
I'm not finished talking because y'all been making up all the time. And then y'all make up stuff on my family.
It'll be on the paperwork for determination of counsel.
And then when they had me in the hospital, Channel 9 News sent out their way for me to come out to see what they did for me. Or they done took my eye. They done broke my nose, broke my jaw. They did all this that I resisted, but I crawled out to the mother throat. How did I resist? I ain't resist. They just did that. They tried to hide it from the news people, but I'm here right now.
Lloyd's potty mouth is out
So
of
they
control.
surround that nigga
And
by
next,
2 or
it
3
gets him
cops
thrown out
got
of court.
stomping that nigga head.
You are refusing to discuss your initial complaint against counsel at this time, is that correct? Mr. Lloyd, watch your tone and the way you speak. Out. Out.
The judge was shocked at his behavior. More shocking, though, was the next emotion he displayed in court.
Lloyd looks down, crying, shaking his head. At one point, a deputy checks on him.
During a witness testimony, Lloyd broke down in tears after hearing about Officer Clayton. Lloyd continued crying for multiple minutes before the judge took action.
Sir, just a second, please. Folks, we need to take a quick break. If y'all step out of the courtroom, please.
Despite showing remorse over the officer's death, Lloyd completely denied all responsibility for the death of his pregnant girlfriend.
I'm not going to do it to my queen. When I had her this house, so she stayed home from school.
He claimed he was the perfect boyfriend and blamed her death on her own misbehavior.
She done pulled a gun on me already, and I took her gun. I knew this on her.
How did you turn it on? First of all, how did you turn it on?
It wasn't my fault.
The jury didn't believe his story. It was time for the cold-blooded killer to learn his fate. First, for Sade Dixon's murder.
Yes, to count 1 first-degree murder of Sade Dixon, court hereby sentences you to life in prison.
And then for killing Lieutenant Deborah Clayton. In a closed courtroom, the judge sentenced Markeith Lloyd to death for the murder of Sade Dixon and Officer Clayton. Lloyd may have shed a tear for his fate, but that can't compare to a defendant who begs the judge for his life.
That was in Florida, man.
Like in the case of Ashford Thompson, who was on trial for aggravated murder in Twinsburg, Ohio. In 2008, Officer Josh Mictarian pulled over Thompson playing loud music at 2 in the morning. While Mictarian was distracted, Thompson pulled out a gun and shot Mictarian 4 times in the head. In court, lawyers showed the jury all the evidence. Bullet projectile paths, and even the blood stains on Thompson's shoes. Victorian's family was horrified.
Shooting him 1 time, and that's 4 times in the head. That's overkill.
He put the gun to my son's head and pulled the trigger.
Oh, yeah, and his mom sitting there.
You think
He had to shoot him 3 more times while he lay down
Yeah,
his head,
overkill.
hitting in the side of his head.
That's gonna really get his ass.
The shot that took his life also took mine.
I'm dead inside.
Victoria's
Speaking
mother
of
was
words,
close
had
to
that
tears,
jury like,
but his
oh,
late
yeah,
wife was
yeah,
irate.
make sure you get out.
How can you believe in that? How can you think that God needs to forgive you for what you've done? You shot my husband in the head.
Amanda Thompson making her rage very clear.
Your girlfriend getting out of the car, you let you sentence him by going in your pocket and shooting him in the head. And then you went over.
Why would you
shot him again and again and again? You had the gun on his head. That's disgusting.
However, Thompson had
These
no
white people
response.
talking to jury.
Anything you want to say?
No, but face man ain't no damn so.
Thompson's silence spoke volumes to the jury. This is the moment they released their verdict.
We, the jury, being duly accountable and sworn, find the defendant, Ashford L. Thompson, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of aggravated murder as charged in the indictment.
Thompson didn't show a shred of emotion, but the trial's not over yet. At sentencing, Thompson showed a shocking change of heart.
Just execute me there because I can't get any kind of justice. I'm tired. I'm at the end of my rope. What can I do?
Instead of force, though, all Thompson gave were complaints about his cellmates.
How can these people just do anything they want? They don't even follow their command the right way. I've been harassed for I don't know how long. I'm trying to hold it in just to get this over with.
But Thompson's going to have to get used to jail life. This is the moment the judge released his sentence.
No, you didn't. You did not turn it
The
off.
jury's sentence and hereby sentences Ashford Thompson on merged counts 1 and 2 to death for the aggravated murder of Joshua McTiernan.
Thompson wasn't afraid to beg for mercy, but somehow this next defendant's actions are even scarier.
Oh shit!
Montes, who was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in Sacramento, California. In 2014, illegal immigrant Luis Bracamontes began a crime spree that began with stealing a car and ended in the tragic deaths of 2 Sacramento police officers.
An undocumented immigrant is accused of murdering Sacramento County Sheriff's Deputy Danny Oliver and then Placer County Sheriff's Detective Mike Davis Jr. during a crime spree that also included carjacking and other shooting victims in October of 2014.
An extensive manhunt followed, and eventually, Bracamontes was taken into custody. In court, Bracamontes seemed to enjoy the rehashing of his crimes.
And then you just shot him right in the head and kept shooting.
Despite his obvious entertainment,
laughing and
Bracamontes
smiling
said
and
this to the court.
Be silent. Be silent.
He offered to plead guilty, but the court refused to accept. They wanted the death penalty.
Mr. Bracamontes is responsible for the death of Deputy Danny Oliver and the death of Detective Michael Davis. He shot them both.
However, Bracamontes wasn't ashamed of his crimes. In fact, he bragged about them.
I killed fucking cops. I'm fucking dead. Oh shit! Oh shit! Don't fucking regret shit.
Bracamontes'
Well,
outburst
I
are
killed more of y'all.
unfathomable. Can't compare to his reaction
That
when he
man
learns his
crazy
sentence.
as hell.
We find the defendant guilty. We further find the allegation that the defendant used and intentionally and personally discharged a firearm.
He flashes a chilling smile, and after the jury finishes their verdict, he lets out an audible victory cry.
We find the defendant guilty.
As if that wasn't heartless enough,
Yay.
Bracamontes then shoots a sarcastic smile at his victim's mother. She
This
smiles
nigga
right
never
back.
need to be let free a day in his life.
Smile, sucker. Justice is done for Danny and Mike.
Bracamontes killed out of bloodlust. But how does that compare to a killer who brings a gun to a taser fight?
I pray to God he never let me be a Mexican like that.
In the case of Kenneth DeHart, who's charged with first-degree murder in Alcoa, Tennessee. In February of 2024, deputies Greg McCowan and Shelby Eggers noticed a car swerving into the wrong lane in front of them. At first, everything seemed normal.
Now that we're on the way there, that's all right. My name's Shelby. I work for the County Sheriff's Office. I'll stop you now because you are all over the road.
I'm sorry.
China was ever model.
Put your hair up? Yeah.
Okay.
But soon enough, Deputy Eggers got suspicious.
Car smells like wood. And he was in the opposite lane.
Then the deputy asked DeHart to exit the car.
I just need you to step out of the car, Kenny.
I'm refusing to search.
Okay, so here's what's gonna happen if you don't step out of the car. We're gonna have to drag you out of the car, and then you're gonna go to jail.
That's when things get ugly.
Get out of the car.
I'm not. No. You're about to go to jail for refusing. No, you can't do that. You're about to go. You can't do this, man. You can't do this. Get your hands off of me.
DeHart fought against the deputies, prompting them to bring out the taser. The situation was tense, but what DeHart does next is unforgivable.
Dang. He should have just pulled the fuck off. He should have just pulled off. Yeah, he should have just pulled off in the first place.
Eggers realized that her partner had been killed. Deputy McCowan died almost immediately. Eggers was quickly bleeding out.
Help! Help! I've been shot! I'm shot! Help! 3 seconds, help!
Thankfully, emergency services arrived in time to save her life. However, it was too late for McCowan, and the shooter was nowhere to be found. Police searched for 5 days before they found DeHart in a home just 20 miles away. Unaware that the police had caught him, DeHart wandered into the backyard just to be met with a pair of handcuffs.
Hey, at 3:22 today, we arrested the man that murdered my deputy.
If you thought DeHart would go down easy, think again.
I guess you're the scapegoat. You're that publicity stunt because you black, huh?
What are you gonna do?
You don't justify what
you
you did to me.
He spent the entire ride to the station trying to convince the driver that the other officers had used unnecessary force to arrest him.
Black man, you gonna want some kick and beat on me again? Beat my glasses off of me. That's why I ain't left.
However, neither the driver nor any other officer showed DeHart any mercy.
Like we punched here. That's the funniest hit in my body. Here.
In court, DeHart was charged with first-degree murder. His trial date is set to 2026. If convicted, he could face the death penalty.
Right.
As unbelievable as DeHart's crimes are, what sort of killer makes his victim's widow cry?
As much as you punch that damn propane tank in the wall, I'm surprised you caring about this one.
Like in the case of Jesse Michael Gomez, who's charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and felony possession of a weapon in San Diego, California. In 2016, officers Jonathan De Guzman and Wade Irwin spotted 2 suspicious men walking down the street. They saw the cop car, the 2 men parted ways, prompting Officer Irwin to investigate. Officer Irwin was barely out of the car before Jesse Gomez shot him in the throat. Then he turned the gun on Officer De Guzman. In court, Gomez's defense claimed he thought the officers were actually rival gang members out to get him.
As a car slowly approached Jesse Gomez from behind in the darkness, and a man confronted him from behind.
Now you should be crying if one of your fingers came off.
But Gomez's crimes were too callous.
He turns his attention towards Officer De Guzman, who's seated in the police car, who hasn't even gotten out. And he turns his attention to him, and he fires, not once, not twice, 5 times.
On the witness stand, Officer Irwin recounts the events of that night.
It still feels like it was yesterday. It feels like I'm living a nightmare. My last memory of it that I have to live with every day of my life is watching the defendant walk up to the car and execute him.
To his credit, Gomez seemed to show remorse for his crimes.
I just want to know that the Guzman family to know that this was not an intentional act. If I could take places with Officer Wilson, I would, but I cannot. And I am truly sorry for that.
But when the victim's family members took the stand, it left Gomez in tears.
Be strong and stuff. And all these people telling me that I'm strong, but I'm just saying I'm good. And I'm not strong. You give them strength of me.
De Guzman's widow let her hatred loose in court. But she never expected her husband's killer to apologize.
Sorry, Mr. Guzman, from the bottom of my heart.
Mrs. De Guzman had to leave the courtroom to compose herself. Finally, it was time for Gomez to learn his fate.
Automatic motion for modification of the verdict, finding and imposing the death penalty. It is the order of this court that you shall, for this murder conviction, suffer the death penalty.
Gomez claims he killed out of fear for his own life. But what sort of person kills over a bicycle?
Are you sorry? What are you doing? Tyrone!
Why you do it, Tyrone?
Are you sorry?
Like in the case of Tyrone Howard, who's facing charges for murder, robbery, and gun possession in New York City. In 2015, Officer Randolph Holder responded to a call of shots fired and bicycles stolen at gunpoint in Harlem. Minutes later, CCTV catches Tyrone Howard fleeing the scene on a bike, a police car chasing after him. Now, close to the Harlem River, Howard pulled out a gun.
He puts the bike down, he pulls out his weapon, and he fires one time, striking the officer in the front of the head.
Officer Holder was killed instantly.
This Jacko is pure evil and should never walk the streets.
After his arrest, Tyrone Howard refused to respond to reporters.
Tyrone, what are you
Shout out to
Why'd you do it, Tyrone?
He stole a bike. Police
Cameras were
came.
not allowed in the courtroom, but after years of trial, Howard was found guilty of his crimes.
The perpetrator involved here was
Man, you gotta be
obviously
fucking really
a hard-nosed,
retarded or
violent criminal.
have some
and should not have been
serious
on the streets.
shit on you.
According to report, Howard didn't even
bike.
flinch as the judge handed down his sentence,
You
death.
fucking retarded.
While on the run, Howard had the wherewithal to throw the murder weapon into the river. The next defendant wasn't so smart.
You can see investigators are out at this Rio Rancho shopping plaza near Pine Tree and Sun looking for clues. They're trying to piece together what happened to Officer Greg Benner.
Like in the case of Andrew Romero, who's charged with capital murder and tampering with evidence in Bernalillo County, New Mexico. In 2015, Officer Greg Benner pulled over a couple driving a stolen vehicle. As he approached, the man in the passenger seat pushed the woman out of the car. When Officer Benner rushed to her aid, the passenger leaned through the window and shot Benner various times. With the woman still on the ground, the passenger quickly got in the driver's seat and drove off. Thankfully, there were civilians close by who witnessed the shooting.
And within minutes, if not seconds, there were citizens and EMS and our officers on scene to try to render first aid.
They rushed to Benner's aid, but it wasn't enough.
Those people are definitely heroes in our eyes. The efforts at the scene were amazing. It was unfortunate that the injuries were so severe.
The next day, police found the getaway car and the suspect in the process of robbing a nearby gas station with the very same gun. When Ramiro exited the gas station with money in hand, police were waiting for him.
I looked across to my right and where that gas station was and saw a silver Impala. At that point, I saw a male subject run out of the store and get into the front passenger seat of that Impala.
In court, the driver of the car confessed that she was Andrew Romero's girlfriend and that they had been out scoping potential robbery victims when Officer Brenner approached.
It's life without parole. Why give him any more? Because it's the right thing, Judge. It sends a message. It sends a message that in this court, life without parole isn't even enough. You will get every day that the law entitles this court to give. And that's what I'm asking for, Your Honor. Thank you.
Will follow you when you're 30, when you're 40, if you're alive 50 or 60. His 5 words, Mr. Romero, are, you will die in prison. The judgment of the court is as follows. With respect to the verdict, you're committed to Department of Corrections for the rest of your natural life.
The courtroom was full as the judge released Romero's sentence. Life in prison plus 60 years. His girlfriend was sentenced to only 16 years. After the court proceedings ended, the Rio Rancho police force gave a special gift to the fallen officer's widow.
This is what I've been waiting for. The last thing that was on him. I know this would have been one of the last things that he would have touched and put on. He's so proud of this. I'm so proud of this. I'm so proud of what he did, and to have this next to my heart, I keep it next to my heart always.
Romero's heartless crimes landed him behind bars for life. What happens when the perpetrator cries out of guilt?
I'm glad they caught him, because he needs to pay for what he's done to a father who has children and for his wife. I mean, this is wrong.
Like in the case of Marco Parilla, who's charged with first-degree murder in Tarpon Springs, Florida. In 2014, Officer Charles Kondak responded to a 911 noise complaint from a vehicle playing loud music in a residential neighborhood just before sunrise. Inside the car was 23-year-old Marco Parilla. As Officer Kondak approached, things quickly escalated.
He took his gun out, which was a .40 caliber handgun that had 7 rounds in it, and he fired him at the officer, striking the officer once in the upper body.
Kondak was too wounded to draw his own gun. Instead, he lay helpless in the driveway behind Parilla's car.
He puts the car in reverse, and he backs up out of the driveway, and he runs over the cop.
Kondak had been shot and run over, and Parilla was to blame.
His reason for shooting the officer was he, quote, felt like a caged rat.
Parilla was caught later that day. Surprisingly, he did show remorse. Parilla apologized for his crime at every opportunity, but Kondak told co-workers didn't believe him.
There's absolutely no excuse. There's no, mistaking. I don't care what he told you guys when he's walking into the jail. It's all a bunch of nonsense.
In court, Parilla made a shocking decision.
Did you decide at some point that you wanted to plead guilty?
Yes, sir.
Did you always want to plead guilty?
Yes, sir.
Were you afraid?
Yes, sir.
He pled guilty to his crimes, but perhaps even more shocking is his behavior when addressing Kondak's family.
I'm sorry for taking your son away. I never meant to. I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. And I know it wasn't supposed to be this way. I wish I could take it back. Every second of my life, I wish I could take it back.
Parilla was close to tears on the stand, and right before sentencing, Parilla took another opportunity to show his remorse.
I'm writing this apology to ask you for your forgiveness. I never wanted to take the life of no one, let alone a hero. I really want everyone in the community to know that I am not a monster and that I am sorry for causing pain to the community.
However, the police chief, who was also a close friend of Officer Kondak, wanted the maximum punishment.
The state attorney has or is seeking the death penalty. We fully support that. We are talking about one of our heroes, one of our police officers that this guy murdered in cold blood.
But Parilla begged the jury to spare his life.
I beg you to please spare my life and give me a chance to better myself and others around me.
This is the moment the jury released their sentence.
You will never, ever be released from prison. Did you realize that?
Yes, sir.
When you pled guilty, did you understand that you gave up your right to a jury trial where the state of Florida would have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you had killed Officer Kondak?
Yes, sir.
That you had done so with premeditation?
Yes, sir.
And did you give up the right to require the state of Florida to prove each and every element of the offense beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, sir.
Knowing that there would be a certainty, and the certainty would be what?
Definitely.
Or?
Life in prison.
Parilla received life in prison for the murder of Officer Kondak. Parilla seemed to show genuine remorse for the murder, but what happens when the would-be victim shows up in court? Christopher Cook, who's charged with the attempted murder of a police officer in Albuquerque, New Mexico. In January 2015, Officer Lou Golson pulled over a speeding car. When he ran the plates, he realized the car had been stolen.
Turn it off.
Golson never expected what the driver did
You
next.
get weed in jail. They was getting real weed. They was trying to get me to bring the shit in. I was not doing
Golson in
that.
the leg and the torso.
I was working up front where people can come in and I see people like out, you know, for people. I was working like as a janitor, bro. Like when you entering the prison, like I was out front.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my last 7 months.
So you were doing landscaping?
No, I was cleaning. I was like doing cleaning.
Sweeping up.
Yeah, like a janitor. I was like a janitor.
Okay.
Yeah, like in the entrance of the prison. Like when you come in to pick people up or you come to do visits. So I was seeing everybody.
So your dad could have came and dropped the bag.
Could have did anything, but I wasn't for that. I'm like, I'm trying to get out of here. Money is not important. In here, it's not important to me. It's people off me thousands of dollars. But if you get caught, you get more time.
Yeah.
Ain't no money worth no
that,
time.
they probably weren't playing that shit. And this is when weed was legal. This is when weed was legal.
Well, this is during the pandemic. Pandemic, you know, when the pandemic started, that's when they got like.
We were legal way before the pandemic in Michigan.
So we got a stalled car here right on Highway 138. Look like they appears they hit something. I'll check it out.
So we can't watch no games?
What's going on?
Somebody was chasing him, a white guy with no shirt on was chasing him. I seen he was a school kid, so I came over this make sure.
You say somebody?
Some white guy with no shirt on, he got a yellow t-shirt in his hand, and I pulled over that.
Where did he actually go at?
He down there, he's somewhere down there, I don't know, I'm right here with them, so make sure.
White male?
White male
Go
with a
back
yellow
to
t-shirt,
Detroit
he ain't got
cases.
no shirt on right now.
Okay. All right. And you say he was chasing him?
Yeah, he was.
Case 1, Tamara Williams. A phlebotomist with a warm smile and a travel agent's wanderlust. That was how friends described Tamara Williams before the autumn of 2018. She had worked in medical clinics, drawn blood with steady hands, and planned vacations for clients dreaming of distant shores. She belonged to the Order of the Eastern Star, a fraternal organization with connections spanning the entire country. To anyone watching from the outside, she appeared reliable, connected, and unremarkable. But behind that carefully constructed normalcy, something far darker was unfolding in a Melvindale apartment. Something that would turn her into one of the most wanted fugitives in America. David Carter was 39 years old, a father and a volunteer coach for the Melvindale Junior Football League. And he worked full-time at an automotive seating plant and had launched his own casual clothing line called Lavish Habits Unlimited. His family described him as serious but fun-loving, someone who took pride in everything he did. In September 2018, he lived in the Gale Gardens Apartments in Melvindale, a Detroit suburb where neighbors knew each other's names and children played in shared courtyards. When David failed to show up for work on September 30th, his co-workers knew immediately that something was wrong. He wasn't the type to simply vanish. Days later, on October 1st, motorists traveling along Interstate 74 near Findlay, Ohio, more than 100 miles from Detroit, made a horrifying discovery. Inside a sleeping bag discarded near the roadside, authorities found human remains, and the Wayne County Medical Examiner later confirmed the identity: David Carter. The details that followed were deeply disturbing. His remains were found in multiple locations. Evidence suggested that this wasn't a crime of passion or spontaneous rage. It had been planned, methodical, and executed with chilling precision. Back in Michigan, detectives immediately turned their attention to David's girlfriend of 6 months, Tamara Williams. Witnesses reported that she had been a constant presence in his life right up until he disappeared. Then suddenly, she was nowhere to be found. When questioned briefly, she claimed to have no knowledge of what happened to him. But as investigators dug deeper, inconsistencies in her story began to emerge. On December 20th, 2018, a felony warrant was issued charging her with first-degree homicide as disinterring a dead body and tampering with evidence. By then, however, Williams had already vanished. The last confirmed sighting placed her in Ann Arbor, Michigan on October 16th, where she withdrew cash and dined at a restaurant more than 2 weeks after David's remains were discovered. Authorities tracked her movements as she took a train to Brooklyn, New York, where she checked into the Neptune Hotel. She was last seen leaving that hotel on October 18th, disappearing completely before an arrest warrant could be executed. Since that moment, Tamara Williams has evaded capture for more than 7 years. The investigation revealed a trail that crossed state lines and international borders. Detectives discovered that Williams had close ties to Brooklyn and Atlanta, the cities where she could blend into crowds and rely on networks from her fraternal organization. Her experience as a travel agent gave her knowledge of how to move quietly between locations, and her background in medicine meant she could potentially find work under the radar. The U.S. Marshals escalated the case to major status in 2021, offering a reward that eventually climbed to $25,000 for information leading to her arrest. In 2021, her case was featured on Fox's America's Most Wanted with John Walsh, bringing national attention to her disappearance.